Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Anarata Bashalieva, along with co-host Dr. Victor Fett, Dr. Katerina Shrey, and our program producer, Professor Larry Shrey. We host a weekly discussion panel on Russia's war on Ukraine with guests from Ukraine, military experts, medical personnel, academics, artists, literary figures, and relief workers. Our panel is recorded and circulated nationally and internationally. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Special thanks to Marshall University Libraries and MUIT for making this weekly event possible. If you are joining us live on Teams, please feel free to use the chat to post any questions for our guests. A quick greetings to our viewers in Ukraine from Professor Victor Fett.
Вітаємо наших слухачів з України глибоким уклоном. Ми є свідками ваших великих страждань, а також вашої великої сили. Дякуємо за участь у нашій щотижневій програмі. Слава Україні!
Thank you. Today's guest will be introduced by Professor Victor Fett.
Thank you, Anara. I am very pleased to introduce today our local Huntington, West Virginia group members. The group president is Pastor John Yeager of Enslow Presbyterian Church in Huntington, West Virginia. And here is Dr. Robert McCollister. And the group is called Sunflower Seeds Tri-State Aid for Ukraine. For those not familiar with our geography, Tri-State entices West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. And in a way of introduction, I will show the video that group produced recently, and then we give a microphone to Pastor John Yeager to tell us more about what is going on at local level in the, you may say, rural United States in support of Ukrainian fight. I will be showing the video in a moment.
Sunflower Seeds is a nonprofit organization established here in Huntington, West Virginia, with the mission of providing awareness and resources for supporting Ukrainian refugees.
The war in Ukraine is important for a whole bunch of reasons. It's important for national security reasons. It's profoundly important that Ukraine win this war to protect American national security and our allies' security. It's important in the defense of American values. Democracy's under threat around the world. 2.5 million Ukrainians have been sent off to Russia into things they call filtration camps. Almost 500,000 children. This is a genocidal war.
By acting at a local level, we send a message of strength and hope to our Ukrainian counterparts. They call us the American friends, the French and the Ukrainians. That's how they know us. We have to maintain that. I think that touched me at a very deep level because it's so important, and we have to preserve that.
As a father and as a history teacher, those images were reminiscent of World War II. We hadn't seen anything like that in Europe since the 1940s. As private citizens, we can't help the war effort, but we can't help the people of Ukraine that are suffering.
You know, my grandparents survived World War II. My father-in-law was day 4 on D-Day to go and protect. Their effort cannot be vain. That's why we're here, to provide an outlet.
Recently, my wife got an email from the president of the Ukrainian Women's Club. I'm sorry I didn't email you earlier, but we were being bombed, and I've lost cousins and uncles, and we had to go find refuge. There is a pent-up desire to help. This is what Christians should be doing, not worrying about all these hot-button issues. That really spoke to me.
I really fear for the future, and we can do a lot. We can do so much together. It's been so rewarding to work together, to be able to see what we can do. I really pray that we can build on that and really bring some of this strength and resilience that we have here.
1968, Dr. King said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. But Dr. King's own life proved that the ark doesn't bend itself. It's only when people of goodwill put their hands on the ark and bend it in the direction of righteousness that justice is reflected in human affairs. And that's why Sunflower Seeds exists. We're just a bunch of people from the tri-state who want to in some small way bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. It is up to us as people that when we see suffering, that we respond. And there are going to be plenty of opportunities once this war is over us to respond, but this is the issue that's before us now. This is our chance to make a difference.
Right, our chance to make a difference. Thank you, Victor, for that world premiere of our video. I'm not going to lie, I just saw The Hiding Place, written by Corrie ten Boom, which is her life in the 1940s, concentration camp survivor. And the stark reality is that, as Dr. Bob says in the video, you know, there's 2.5 million in filtration camps in Russia right now. So I am literally still shaking from that movie, so bear with me. As the video says, we came together to raise awareness and resources for Ukrainian refugees. I can't begin without giving credit to Patrick Grace, who is the vice president of our little committee, who had it in his heart to talk to the mayor of Huntington, West Virginia. And I admit I was skeptical, and I said, okay, Patrick, yeah, you tell me how that goes and get back with me. And he went 3 times, and finally did get the ear of the mayor, who at a mayor's conference on March 3rd of 2020 had a video Zoom meeting with the mayor of Kyiv, and the mayor of Kyiv was expressing his need for assistance. Just 8 and 3, 11 days after the war started. So it's been a ride. It's been what a journey this has been. We started meeting in July of 2020. We met with the mayor in September. We thought we'd just become a little mayor's advisory committee. But he saw us as having the capability of being something much bigger. So we rather blindly set out to establish a nonprofit corporation because, you know, what else do you have to do with your time than start a corporation? On January 11th of 2023, we did receive our certificate from the state of West Virginia. We're still working on the nonprofit aspect of that, although since we are only a charitable organization, we can accept donations and people can use that for tax write-offs, since that's all we do. But we are still waiting for our official 501(c) designation. We had our public meeting, our first real public awareness of us on February 24th, 2023. And I want to mention also the cooperation with Ukraine and Sunflower Seeds. Dr. Fett and Larry Charay are both members of our board, which we are very, very, very pleased of our cooperative effort toward one thing, and that's assistance to refugees. We have a diverse board. political science, government, media, research, business, religion, education, and other nonprofits. We have expanded the board. We have now 10 members. We have a goal of $100,000, and in less than 6 months, we have raised $20,000, and that's about $130 a day. I'm very pleased that that has continued to be at that level. So we're 20% of our goal. But more importantly, and as you'll see in a bit, toward the end of March, our partners in France made a delivery to Poland, and that was their 5th convoy. We were part of that finally, and supplied about $7,500 that went toward gas, because I say diesel fuel, because diesel fuel in Europe is like $7.50 a gallon, $3,100 worth of diesel fuel it takes to just go to from France to Poland. And then the remaining funds were used for combat level first aid kits and 3 what I call operating rooms in a backpack, high level equipment. So, and as you'll see where some of that has ended up. So we've also set aside about $2,600 of our current funding, which we raised from the 5K race, which you'll hear about in a moment. So combined 10,000, and we look to keep on pace. We have several very highly potential money-making events coming up. And it's unapologetically, okay, we are raising money. That's our objective, and we have done, I think, pretty well so far. We'll be attending the Huntington Women's Club, which I hope to walk out of there between $2,000 and $3,000. Kuhn Memorial, we'll have an event there, again, $2,000 to $3,000, and the Woodlands, which is Kuhn Memorial is a Presbyterian church here in the area, and then the Woodlands, which is a retirement community, are very eager to have us come up, and again, hopefully the investments we've made, you might say, well, what have you done with the rest of the money? Well, we've worked with a marketing firm for branding, logos, the video you just witnessed, that's the 99% level, a few little typos here, and then the website. So that was a $4,200 effort right there, and it costs money to start a 501(c)(3), so the government takes some money for that. So, but we've kind of hit a curve. So we have the merchandise, we have all the marketing tools that ratio of should greatly decrease. In other words, if we've made 20, we've given 10. That's 50%. That should go down to 20 and 10% very soon, I hope. But that's normal for a startup 501(c). Thanks to Bob McCollister and others, we've been very active in summer events throughout the area. Again, a lot of awareness, making contacts, getting more people interested. And then the big event that we held this summer was the 5K race. So probably, unless Bob or Victor or Larry, you have anything else you want me to add overall, we can probably look at the race in videos or whatever. PowerPoint? Both.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. I will show the video clip from TV news locally, and then we will go to PowerPoint with images that John and others kindly sent us. Yeah. And this is a big event. Huntington is a not very small town, 50,000 people or so, but Ritter Park, where the race takes place, is a central place where everyone walks and runs. So if you want to be visible, you need to make a few circles in Ritter Park in our town. Let me show first the video clip from the news. This was on July 22nd, by the way.
To step in and help. The nonprofit organization called Sunflower Seeds is hosting a 5K this weekend at Ritter Park in Huntington. Members have been working hard right here at home since February to raise thousands of dollars for refugees with partner agencies in Europe. And that money is being used to buy premium first aid supplies and diesel fuel to make sure that food and medical supplies get to people who need them most. The group is made up of people from around the tri-state region, and they're hoping people in other parts of the country will see what they're doing and then do the same wherever they might be.
We have the resources in this country to assist in this dire effort, which is really a once-in-a-lifetime scenario.
One member of the Sunflower Seeds organization from Huntington has actually taken in a 19-year-old refugee from Ukraine who she actually knew when she was a AmeriCorps volunteer teaching English there. Now that 19-year-old is headed to the University of Massachusetts in the fall. They will continue to work to identify more refugees to come to our region. If you'd like to learn more about the organization or take part in the race, here's the information. It's this coming Saturday, July 22nd at Ritter Park. There will be yoga before and after the 5K. The race steps off at 9, and you can find out more at sunflowerseedstristate.com. Coming up, opening up.
So that was a very generous, I don't know how long that was, 30 or 40 seconds. Amanda Barrett, that was actually the third attempt at an interview. Our area is known for fast-moving thunderstorms, and in the 2 days before, the reporter where we had a appointment was called off because he had to go, take a film of a tree that had blocked a road or something. So, but she was very generous. She called me and apologized. And then we were able to put that together, and she did a great job summarizing very quickly our mission, our vision, everything. So we can't thank her enough for that piece. So
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you. I now have PowerPoint on.
Okay.
And here is. For those who are not from this area, I just put together a map to show people that compared to Maryland, Washington, D.C., and New Jersey and New York, we are far west. And here is our Ritter Park. Huntington stands on the Ohio River, actually the boundary between Ohio and West Virginia. That's where we are. And here is the race. I will go on and John will comment, please.
Right. So it's a beautiful park, as he says, right in the center of town. This was our little promotional brochure. When I delivered this to one of the coffee shops here in town, at the drive-through window, I knew this fellow. I knew the boss, and I said, "Can you ask Brandon to put this up?" And the guy looked at it and he says, "Oh, we have a Ukrainian working here." And I said, "What?" Well, and this is how we met. And I'm not going to say their names because of security, but the young woman who's 19 was working in Eastern Ukrainian childcare facility that had been bombed. They don't know if they got everybody out. They don't know what happened, but obviously it was terrible. Her parents, who lived in the eastern part of Ukraine, begged her to leave the country, which is, I mean, just doing that is heartbreaking. But because she was educated by an American woman for 3 years who was a Peace Corps volunteer who happened to live in Huntington, she was able to migrate here under the Uniting for Ukraine program here in the U.S. and attended Marshall University and worked at this coffee shop. So we got to know, and coincidentally, the Peace Corps volunteer also fell in love and married a Ukrainian who's also here in Huntington. So we got it. So over this last few weeks, several weeks, we got to meet them, and thank you, Bob. Putting a face in a body. I mean, as I say, the fact that this war is tearing up people and lives 5,000 miles away, but once you get to meet people and learn to love them, you know, it puts it a whole new dimension. And these are some of our board members at the 5K, and you can see in the foreground those are the sun catchers that we sell and have done very well. We made $3,500 on selling sun catchers, so we've done very well with that. But those are our volunteers and board members at the race. Thank you. Next one. One of our board members is also has a greenhouse, I think, where she grows dahlias, and so we sold these at, I think, $10, $20, and $30 a piece. Plus, you see that $5 thing? That's our $5 deal. You get a bumper sticker and a Ukrainian flag pin for $5. So all of these make money. Go ahead. We learned from Disney Corporation. They make movies, they have the parks, but merchandise is where they make their most money. And this is a great story. So on the left is the original of a oil on canvas painting done by Dr. Stephanie Skolik, who is a retina specialist here, who also is dyslexic, which gives her quite a platform for her artwork, which is, she's done several national shows. And I went in to see her. She's my doctor, and she saw I was wearing my pin, and she goes, "What's that pin?" And I told her the story, and she said, "You know, when I was praying this morning, I asked God to show me how He could use me today, and this is the second visit I've had where He's shown me." So she said, "I'll paint an original painting for you, and you can auction it off, and then we can make prints." So on the right-hand side, you see the prints. So we've already made more than, we've already broke even and then some, and we still have, I think, 20-some prints left that we haven't even marketed yet. So again, merchandising opportunities for money. Go ahead. It's a beautiful painting. It was everything I could do not to buy it, but my wife had other ideas. So here we are. The runners are stretching. We had a great volunteer group. We had about 100 people there in total, 60 runners, probably 20 volunteers, and then 20 other onlookers. So busy putting packages together, getting people signed up. It was very efficiently by our crew. Go ahead. And then there they are. 60 runners getting ready to start. We got some advice from experts in the 5K and 10K, and you know, they said, "Don't worry, They all sign up the last week. So about a week before the race started, we only had 30 signed up, pre-registered, but then lo and behold, they were right on. 60 showed up, which is a good number, as Dr. Fett said, for a small town. And we had I think 9 different categories. So they first and second place. So go ahead. Winners were named, and so they're off to the races. Some walking, some running. Go ahead. And then so we had this great idea. We'll use the Blinko, which is again a nationally known blown glass facility here in the area. These Blinko sun catchers we converted into metals, so it worked out very nicely. Go ahead. And the finish. And the winner, I think he did I think it was 17 minutes, I think, to do basically 3 miles. I think that's about right. And he has some roots, I think, in the area as well. He's I think he works at Marshall as well. Can't remember his name, but go ahead. And again, we had all these different categories, a lot of diversity. We had young, old, all kinds of different people. They were just happy to be part of it. And what a great day God gave us. This is my friend Philippe from France. He ran in spite of his bad knee, so we're laughing about that. And this little guy, he came up to me before the awards came out. He goes, I think I came in 4th or 5th. Well, he came in first in his age category. He was a very proud young man, so it was a lot of fun. And another young winner. So again, the result was that we brought in I think $4,200 clear. Gross was over $8,000. We got all kinds of freebies for door prizes and so on and so forth. So, but monetarily, it was about a $4,200 gain, and then, like I said, but gross over 8,000 when you count all the donations and giveaways and stuff. So it was very, as 5Ks go, I don't think it could have been any more successful, and we just thank God for the weather and everything and the team that put it together was fantastic. So we were very fortunate. So let's move on, because I know time's a waste, and I'm sorry. So so this is the result of the funds, or partial aid that we provided for the May delivery. So this is delivery of food and medical supplies in Kharkiv, which may be being used right now. I think Bob will tell us about what's happening there. Again, I can't. Bob, can you say that name? Zephyr. Can you say that?
Zaporizhia.
Yeah, thank you. So what's happened is that while there's 2,200 pounds that was delivered, a lot of the supplies found their way across the border into Ukraine that they didn't need in Poland. So a lot of the food and stuff stayed there. And what we do is well beyond, cans of Campbell soup. What we deliver are medical beds, EKG machines, ultrasound machines, pharmaceuticals. These are critical needs, but go ahead. This one gets my attention all the time because this is undisclosed location, which tells me something. We're very proud of that, actually. Go ahead. First aid kits. How do you say that word, Bob? Okay, thank you. And this one especially breaks my heart because these are to the elderly and disabled who are unable to leave the country. They're unable to they're in-country refugees. And so you see there literally diapers and toilet paper that are so necessary, again, here in the Kharkiv area. So we're just so grateful. Go ahead. Similar photograph here. So thank you for that. I'll leave it up to you, Victor, if you want. We don't really probably need to show any more of the clips unless, or maybe there's questions. I don't know. We'll just stop right there on my part. I think that's enough.
Thank you, John, so much. This was, I think we have someone's microphone too loud. Now we're fine. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah. So thank you so much. If we have any questions, please, from the panel or the audience, please ask John about sunflower seeds activity, and we will move to Dr. McCollister, who is also a member of the board of Sunflower Seeds, for the updates on Ukraine. Please. If you have a question, open your microphone and camera or write in chat, please. I see no hands raised right now, so I guess we will just move to our second part right now. And I introduce Dr. McCollister, who was here before, who is an expert on political science and history, and a local activist and high school teacher, and many more things. Bob, please, microphone is yours.
Thank you, Victor. I just want to say, first of all, it's such a privilege to work with the folks at Sunflower Seeds. Pastor John has done so much work on this. He and Patrick and Sandrine and everybody else that's involved in it. They've really done things that, well, they've bent the arc of the moral universe just a little bit in the right direction. So it's a real privilege to be involved with people like that. In terms of updating the war right now, everything's focused, of course, on the Ukrainian counteroffensive. I think a lot of folks had unrealistic expectations for what would happen immediately, that this would be some kind of extraordinarily rapid collapse of the Russian army and advance to the coast. That hasn't materialized. And if you follow the reporting, especially in the mainstream media and the major newspapers and those kind of things, some kind of pessimism sort of set in. I think that's a little bit overblown as well. So we've kind of swung from one extreme to the other. What we're seeing all across the front, and the front in Ukraine is kind of shaped like a fish hook on its side. In the east, where we saw a lot of those supplies that we've sent in Kharkiv and in Svatov and that area, there has been activity there. The Ukrainians have pushed back around Bakhmut and have rolled the Russians back in a lot of the territory that where the Russian casualties were spent so dearly to try to take a very limited area. And they've made some progress, not fully liberating Bakhmut yet, but they pushed the Russians back. The Russians have launched a counterattack in the area around a city called Kupiansk. In fact, just a few days ago, Ukrainians ordered the civilians in that area that was liberated back in September. They ordered that area evacuated, but the Russian advance there has mostly it's been a diversion. They're trying to pull Ukrainian assets away from the front in Zaporizhia. And the Ukrainians have done a pretty good job of slowing down the Russian advance there. So I don't think that's the major focus of activity. What's really happening and where the counteroffensive is concentrated is in the south, in the Zaporizhia region. And the Ukrainian goal is to drive to the Sea of Azov and to separate the Russian forces in the east from the Russian forces close to the Dnipro River and in Crimea. It's to divide those Russian forces in two. And that's where there was a lot of expectation that these 9 newly formed Ukrainian brigades might be able to do some rapid blitzkrieg style attack and drive across that Russian held territory pretty quickly. But the Russians had quite a long time to dig in, and it's particularly build these belts of very dense minefields. And what we've seen is actually kind of an interesting strategy. Ukrainians initially began to try, it seemed, at least in some limited degree, to see if they could achieve rapid success. But one thing we've seen from the Ukrainian army is their ability to adapt to local conditions and to do what they do best. They're an army in transition from the old Soviet style of military, which is kind of artillery based, to a more modern, more Western style approach. So they've developed this hybrid approach. In a lot of ways, the fighting in Zaporizhia reminds me of the fighting in Normandy after D-Day in June and July 1944, where it took us a while in that Normandy region to fight through what was called hedgerow country because it was perfect defensive terrain. And it took us a while before there was a breakout. And I think that's kind of a good analogy for what we might see. The Ukrainians, rather than launching one major thrust, either toward Melitopol or toward Mariupol, have kind of been pushing across that Zaporizhia region, spreading Russian forces very, very thinly. The Russians don't have, it seems, much in the way of reserves now. And as they tire those Russian forces out and force them to fight day after day, they're spreading them out almost like peanut butter all along that front. Particularly a push toward Mariupol, another push which may in just the last few days have started to bear some success toward a city called Tokmak, which is north of Melitopol, which I think we all kind of assumed would be a major objective. And then recently, also in the last week, what potentially could be a very important crossing of the Dnipro River, which would further stretch Russian forces even more. So I think there's more success than is often understood by folks in the mainstream media that could set the stage for more rapid success later on. If you follow along with the Russians and you listen, the Russians just fired the General Popov, who was in charge of the 58th Combined Arms Army in Western Zaporizhia. They fired him because he was very concerned about what the Ukrainians were doing. And then kind of at the 30,000 foot level, more at the strategic level, there's been a whole series of very interesting developments. What it appears Putin's strategy is to turn this into a long war, almost what we now know as his frozen conflicts, which has been something he has used in the past in Georgia, in Moldova, in the initial invasion of Ukraine in 2014, these frozen conflicts where he grinds down not only his opponents, but also the Western will to fight. His strategic objective is to make this war unpopular in the West until we get to the point where we stop aid to Ukraine. In terms of Clausewitz, the center of gravity in this war is the Western will to continue to arm Ukraine and help them do the fighting. So that seems to be Putin's objective, but that is being undermined. And there's been a series of articles very recently. Robert Kagan has a really good article in Time magazine about the Ukrainian strategy. There's a brand new article that just came out in Foreign Affairs by Tatiana Stanovaya. I'm sorry, Victor, if I mispronounced that. And then another one by David Ignatius in the Washington Post that says, and basically they're arguing the same thing, that Putin may not have the time that he thinks he has because, and that especially the rebellion by Yevgeny Prigozhin shows that there may be more turmoil in the upper echelons of Russian leadership than we realize, and he may not have the time to fight or to extend this conflict that he thinks he has. And we may be entered a period, in fact, the article in Foreign Affairs is called Putin's Age of Chaos. So there could be a lot happening at the strategic level as well.
Can I make a comment? Can you
Sure
hear
can.
me? This is the importance of groups like Sunflower Seeds at the local level to maintain that positive pro-Ukrainian stance. And the city of Huntington will soon be putting up signs at the entrances that, thanks to our group, that say the city of Huntington is for peace in Ukraine. So any efforts along those lines are vital. Mayor Williams, our mayor, told a story about how yes, the 535 members of Congress in the United States have a lot of power, but not as much power as the mayors. And as we like to say, all politics is local. So his vision and our vision is to replicate something along the lines of what we're doing across the country. And I'm not sure how that will work or what form that will take, but that's our big vision, is that groups like ours would pop up in communities across the nation to shape that public opinion, which is so important for the war effort. So back to you, Bob.
No, that's absolutely true. It is vitally important that we continue to support the Ukrainian war effort, and groups like Sunflower Seeds can play a role in that. We can play a role. We can almost be ambassadors that can help spread the message that this is that the Ukrainian people deserve our support. So that's one of the reasons I'm proud to be associated with this group.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I will put again a few questions, but I have one question. I don't know if Dr. McCollister is finished with the outlook, but just in a way of discussion, what do you think the victory would look like? Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's a very complicated question. I've actually been reading quite a few things about what that might look like. In the end, I think you have to have a Ukraine that is politically and economically viable. And I think that's a Ukraine that has, I want to say 100% of its territory restored. And I think Crimea is the absolutely critical part of that battlefield. I don't think that Ukraine is viable as a country without Crimea returned. I think it absolutely has to be. It's economically, strategically, absolutely valuable, important that Crimea be part of Ukraine again. I'm not comfortable, making territorial compromises for Ukrainians. And you'll sometimes hear commentators talk about the Ukrainians have to be willing to put up with some kind of territorial compromise. At this point, I think, you talk about the moral component of this war. it's important that aggression in a period where democracy is under threat around the world, and you have this young democracy defending itself against this, what is really a fascist movement in Russia. I mean, I don't use that term lightly. The term gets bandied about a lot, but I actually wrote an article in the Charleston Gazette, an op-ed a few months ago, that talked about Putin as the leader of this new fascist movement that is growingly important in world politics. And I think it's really important that Ukraine win and that Russia be seen to lose. I think it's important for the future of Russia. I think it's even more important for the future of democracy in Europe. So for me, my theory of victory is a Ukrainian, a restoration of Ukrainian territory, Ukrainian membership in NATO, a solidified NATO alliance. So I think those things are absolutely vital. That's what victory looks like to me. That's how I would define it.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. We have a question from Dr. Deutsch. Len, please. Dr. Deutsch is our also local member and regular viewer, and he's the former graduate dean of Marshall University, our platform. Nice to see you.
Is there any can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any chance that the UN will have a role to play in setting up well-regulated, organized plebiscites to see what people in those affected areas want to do in terms of establishing their national identity, where their allegiances lie?
I think that's a possibility. I haven't, to be honest, I've seen some discussion of that. I think the possibility of a plebiscite might be part of a compromise solution, a negotiated solution to the end of the war. The difficulty always in those kind of things, and we have some history with this, in between World War I and World War II and the Tsar and some other places, they are difficult to hold, and you always have to worry about Russian attempts to manipulate the outcome. But it might be part of a solution, I think. That is a possibility. If you go back to look at the initial vote when Ukraine declared its independence, there was an initial vote in 1991-92. Every region of Ukraine voted for its independence. So I think if Ukrainian people are allowed, if the people of what used to be, the former pre-2014 borders of Ukraine are allowed to vote, I think they would vote in favor of remaining as part of Ukraine. Holding those plebiscites in a wake of conflict is always a difficult thing, though. It's always a difficult thing to manage.
Thank you for your insightful response.
Thank you, Dr. McCollister. I might add, we have a note here from Leslie in chat. The situation is similar to Sudetenland. For those who were too young at this time, we're talking about German population in Sudetenland, which was part of Czechoslovakia in 1938, and this is the initial Hitler's aggression, which led to the further events of Second World War. So obviously Sudetenland had plebiscite under some circumstances, and Austria had Anschluss. We all know this. On the other hand, modern history is different. We have record, and we have such, that's my opinion, such enormously displaced masses of people both ways. We have Crimea intentionally populated and depopulated. We have Crimean Tatars, the most slighted group of population, first under Stalin and now under Putin. That it is my pessimistic opinion that a peaceful plebiscite in this generation is not possible. Thank you. More questions, please. About sunflower seeds also, Pastor Yeager mentioned that we they work with local authorities, with the mayor. And we all know how many support groups and donation groups pro-Ukraine are across the United States. I'm sure the same happens in Europe, although I hear very disturbing news from Europe on much stronger support for Russia than I could imagine, especially from France. That's fresh news. It is clear that people are tired from the war, but being tired is not the same as being bombed. This is for our compatriots and people of Western Europe. So the local support is absolutely crucial, and we are proud to have Sunflower Seeds as our partner, and we hope networks of local organizations will appear across our region, and we are trying our best to connect those people. More questions, please? Comments?
I'll just one more comment, and this goes to, again, the idea of being local. I use this example, but you can buy stock and you can buy insurance all day long on the internet, but most people prefer to have a face-to-face contact, and somebody they can trust, and that's why this, I believe, has worked. We've had what I call a pent-up demand. A lot of people say, yeah, I wanted to do something, and so we are helping them do something that they desire to do. So it's that, again, face-to-face contact that makes all the difference. Thank you.
Thank you both. More discussion or questions, please. We have a few visitors here from other cities live. We have our friends. If we do not have any more comments or questions, I will move to the closing part. I wanted also to ask Pastor Yeager what people are saying. You talk to many more people than I do. So local community, what are their feedback responses to what you're doing?
Well, I count emojis. Okay, so on Facebook, that's the new statistic, right? Count emojis. So, or likes and so on. So we do have comments that, for lack of a better thing, is America first. We have problems here, and why are we sending our money over there, and those kind of things. But in general, I would say 70 to 75% are positive, which is consistent with Pew Research did a study on feelings about this war, and in the Republican it was 80% and Democrat 90% for humanitarian aid and food of any kind. So this is a opportunity where the blue and the red folks can agree, which is rather hopeful for me. So we focus and use that in our marketing, for lack of a better word, and emphasize the humanitarian aspect. But to your question, I'd say, it's mostly positive. Of course, there's always a few. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is very crucially important for us, again, because we are not exactly in the Wild West for those watching us from abroad, but we are far into country land, into heartland of America, and there is more probably population like us here across the country who support Ukraine than there is not. I want to conclude our today's session and panel by few words of greeting to our Ukrainian viewers. As customary, thank everybody who came live, and our speakers, of course, and everyone who is watching in recording. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Ukraine. Дорогі брати і сестри в Україні, ми тримаємо вас у наших щоденних думках і молитвах. Нехай милосердний Бог береже вас у своїй опіці. До наступного тижня ми прощаємось. Слава Україні!